welcome back to the show, everybody. Thank you for checking out another episode of the YouTube channel. And those that are listening on audio, thank you for tuning in to the LFC podcast. I'm pretty excited for today. We have a special guest. This is Jason Willard. We'll kind of talk about some stories and stuff going throughout this chat that we're going to have. Jason Willard is my cousin. We grew up very close to each other.
Yeah.
Our whole lives, right?
Yep.
And he has some thoughts that he has a podcast that he does, and he has some thoughts that I felt would be extremely beneficial to my audience and to what I'm trying to portray to people. So welcome to the show, Jason.
Man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Awesome.
Of course.
Very cool.
So right off the bat, I mean, we're gonna get into quite a few things.
Okay.
But just right off the bat, kind of introduce yourself. Like, where did you come from? Like, who is Jason Willard?
Ooh, that's a deeper question.
Yeah, it is.
No, so yeah, I'm Jason Willard. I born and raised in American Fork, Utah. Grew up on a mink ranch there in American Fork, and helped my family out there on the mink ranch for a long time, and then ended up going to school at Utah State and then Southern Utah University. Served a mission in Tampa, Florida, and then growing a family now with 3 boys, and we don't know what it is yet on the way, but one on the way. We'll find out when it comes. But anyways, that's me. Like I said, Nate and I actually grew up not too far apart from each other.
Yeah.
Literally, I would cross the field through our houses to go hang out at their house all the time.
Yeah.
So just such good memories, such cool experiences while living there on the farm with cousins so close. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's pretty rare nowadays to be that close to family.
Yeah.
Right. Like literally within 5 minutes, we could be hanging out or in the fields or being pulled by the 4-wheeler on a sled or whatever in the snow. Right. Like it was crazy.
Not very many 6-7-year-olds drive the 4-wheeler over to their cousin's house.
No, but we did all the time.
Yep.
That's the perks growing up on a farm.
Yep.
Anyway, so you talked about growing up on a mink ranch. Obviously, those that don't know about mink ranch, it's a very labor-intensive job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of explain that? Just you don't have to go into crazy detail, but maybe explain that for those that don't know.
Yeah. So a mink ranch, I mean, mink are probably one of the meanest animals, at least that I've ever dealt with, and
I can attest to that.
Just super mean. And there was, I might even talk a little bit about like what I learned specifically while dealing with mink, but like the mink ranch was fun and it was hard. It was every day I got to be working alongside my brothers and my dad, and good times, good memories there. But mink, they're super mean, and so when you go to catch a mink, it's probably one of the most scary things that you can think about doing. I remember my brothers, they'd dare us to go ahead and like put our hand up on the pen just to see, and you couldn't always see the mink that were sitting in that pen. So I'm like, oh, there's no mink in this one, I'm fine. So I remember one day I stuck my hand up on the pen and ended up coming out of the box and biting my hand just right through the pen. And when they bite, they don't let go at all.
Yeah.
Like you have to blow in their face, and then all of a sudden they gasp and then let go.
Yeah.
So it was a interesting experience. You learned how to be tough really quick. You learned how to be fast. Otherwise,
you're getting snatched.
Yeah, you don't just make half decisions going into a mink pen. So I actually attribute a lot of, some of my business decisions and what I do there actually on some of the lessons I learned on the mink ranch. So it was super labor intensive, and a lot of uh, just long hours and pushing to finish it. So we had these, 3 or 4 weeks of breeding season,
Yeah.
and then moving on to another vaccination season and stuff like that. So it was always changing, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you knew you had a long few weeks that you had to go ahead and tackle
Kind
something
of
hard.
grind through it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So you explained hard work, right?
Yeah.
And you learned hard work from a very young age.
Yeah.
I know you, and I know your family. And with that, right? Like, obviously, I'm assuming it's that hard work in itself has attributed to where you are today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I mean, kind of going along with that same topic, right? So you grew up. How long did you work on the mink ranch? Do you have like an idea?
Yeah, I mean, my dad used to pay us, pennies to go catch mink, and so, like, probably since I was, I don't know, I would say 6 or so,
Okay.
we'd be going down there and catching mink off the ground.
Okay.
We'd take fishing nets and any that got loose or whatever, and go catch them, and he'd pay us per mink we caught.
There you go.
Um,
A little bit of
anyways,
an incentive.
yeah,
There you go.
that's when I started out, and then I mean I did it probably I would say till I was 14 or so, and
Okay.
then I ended up getting a job working somewhere else. I really appreciate that about my dad. Like, it wasn't always like a, hey, you stick here on the farm, you
Yeah.
have to work it out
Yeah.
the entire time. It was, hey, I want you to learn how to work underneath of somebody else.
Yeah.
So then that way you understand what it means to be in a real job without your family around. So time frame wise, that's when I was working on the farm.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, I feel like that's extremely beneficial, right? Like seeing different sides of things, right? Like you saw the farming, you saw the retail, you saw the, like, all that type of stuff, right? Which
Yep.
which I think is extremely extremely beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of leading on to the next thing along the lines of hard work, right? And we're going to touch on this towards the end, because I know that you have a podcast that you specifically talk about mental strength and grit, right? Yeah. And we'll explain that a little bit later, and my viewers can go check that out and
awesome.
kind of go see what you're all about with that. So you say that your wife is pregnant. She's pretty close to.
Yep. A couple weeks out.
And you don't know what the gender is yet?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right.
So it's exciting.
Awesome.
I mean, I always knew from a young age that I wanted a family really quick, and so with the 3 boys at home, and we don't know what up on the way. So it's exciting. It's a fun time of life.
Awesome. Awesome. So with that, you got 3 boys that you have right now, and then 1 on the way, right? Like, I'm assuming that you feel a sense of, I guess the word that comes to my mind is ownership, right? Like, of who you are and who you are aspiring to raise, or how you're aspiring to raise your kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I, growing up, I don't think I realized how blessed or lucky I was to have grown up the way that I did. And I didn't realize how really unique it was to have grit and mental toughness, and the ability to work with family and stuff like that. And so I had a lot of great, like, seriously amazing men in my life.
Yeah.
That taught me so many things. Obviously my dad, but there were so many others around that I got to look up to, that did different things, that were just great examples of good men who wanted the best for their families and who wanted to show up for them every single day. So I saw that, and I realized as I grew up, I saw less and less of it as I grew up.
Absolutely. I agree.
And some of the people that I interacted with at college and when I was on my mission and stuff like that, I just realized like, man, how did I feel like I hit a gold mine where I lived of all these great men that I lived next to. And anyways, because of that, I realized what is breaking down in our society as far as, men don't really want to show up. They're there to be a help every once in a while, but they're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Like definitely living a different lifestyle. They're not caring about, raising a family or trying to push on those things. So I was surprised at that. It really surprised me and depressed me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I looked around and I'm like, hey, who am I going to hang out with? Like, who are these people that I want my sons to look up to?
Yeah.
Just like I had people to look up to when I was growing up. So anyways, that's what got the gears turning for me.
Yeah.
And then now, with this Path to Gritness podcast, I just want to be able to pull those people that I know that are really mentally tough. They show up for their families. They're trying to be, good, God-fearing husbands, fathers, leaders, protectors. And so because they're trying to be that, I want that to go out to everyone.
Yeah.
And people to realize that, hey, just because it's not the norm doesn't mean that's what it shouldn't be.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, you're trying to portray this, right? Which I agree 100%, right? Like I listen to podcasts, I talk to people. I mean, I interact with men every single day.
Yeah.
Right? And I see the difference in how people were raised, right? Like how we were raised around those type of men where they were bolstering us, they were holding us to a standard of working hard and doing what we know we're supposed to be doing versus people that were raised, in a household or around men that don't uphold those standards, right?
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference, and I think that it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm in 100% agreement with what you're saying as far as like if we can portray that, and if you can portray that to people, and show people like, hey, like this isn't necessarily the normal, right? Like this is what we're supposed to be as men. Like we are 100% to blame for the society's problems.
Yeah.
Right. Like I mean, obviously there's a whole lot of things, and I don't want to necessarily go down the rabbit hole with politics and all that type of stuff. Yeah. But there does come a sense of responsibility that we as men uphold, that we have to, whether it's our kids, whether it's our coworkers, whether it's the person that we meet at the gas station, right? Like as a man that upholds his standards and his beliefs, like it is our duty to show that to people and to be that example.
Yeah. And I think too, like our society, we're making a lot of blanket statements for a ton of people, but at the same time, I do see it, and it's a majority of what's going on. I think the biggest issue that I feel like men run into is they are not willing to take ownership of every part of their life. They are, this is scripture, but creatures to be acted upon and not creatures to act. Like we need to be owning our life 100%. Just because the world's getting bad out there doesn't mean that it's okay for me to say, oh, man, sorry, I screwed these boys up.
Yeah.
But I had a tough life.
They'll figure it out.
There's a hard world.
Yeah.
And so, those are my excuses.
Yeah.
as soon as you throw excuses out the window and realize that you're responsible for it, your life's going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is kind of an informal thing, but it's like my dad says, right? Excuses are like buttholes.
Yeah.
Everybody has them and they all stink. So.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Anyway, so kind of going along with that, I know you talk about a lot of this on your podcast. Your podcast is the Path to Gritness.
Yep.
So those that don't follow you should go check that out. It's on iTunes and Spotify.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
So.
Anyway, so you've kind of touched a little bit on this, but I really kind of want to dive a little bit deeper.
Okay.
What is your why personally? Like, why do you do what you're doing in your career, in your family, on your podcast? Like, why? Yeah, what makes you tick?
Yeah. So, geez, I would say a lot of what makes me is I'm not here to let people down.
Yeah.
I am not here to let my boys down. I'm not there to let my wife down. I am going to live my life to the fullest because I realize where I come from. I realize why I'm here and what I do matters. I think I realized kind of at a young age that I didn't want mediocre. I didn't want just okay. And I didn't want my boys to expect that either.
Okay.
They deserve a lot more than that. They're sons of God. They should be treated as such.
Yeah.
And so because they are, it's up to me to make sure that they understand what it means to respect women, girls, and children, to work hard, to appreciate and show gratitude and kindness towards other people. And a lot of times people look at podcasts like this and think they're like, oh, they're big macho men that they're all tough and stuff like that. And it's like, no, it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Right.
It has everything to do with making sure that we pass on what was given to us.
Yeah.
I feel so blessed to have lived where we lived, to have understood what I understand. And it's not okay if I don't pass that on. And it's harder and harder to pass it on right now. It's harder for me to share with my boys the kind of life that I had because you just don't find it very much anymore. And so as far as my career and what I'm trying to push for there, I try to bring out the best in everyone. And that's a lot of what this podcast is there's a lot of things that you could be doing in life, but why would you not work on yourself?
Yeah.
Why would you not see those flaws and decide you want to change other than you're lazy?
Yeah.
And you just don't want to push through it. Which, you know what? If you're in that state right now, that's okay. Like, you're going to figure it out and you're going to get there. But the faster you do that, the better life becomes for those around you.
Yep. I agree.
So anyways, that's my why. That's awesome. That's what makes me tick. We're all children of God, and we should act as such.
I love it. And we talked about this before, but what I do, my goal on this show is to try to help people realize their full potential.
Yeah.
Right. And my thing is physically, but also you don't get the physical potential without mentality, or like a strong mentality, right? Yeah. Without the willingness to put in the work, right? To build your mentality, to build your spirituality, to build all these other blocks, because it's like a pyramid, right? And like you got your physical, your mental, your spirituality, and that builds up on itself. And if you have a strong base, I mean, like a foundation, right? If you got a strong foundation, then you're going to have building blocks then you're going to be at the top, and I mean, eventually with work every single day, you're going to build that to where it's noticeable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like your mental toughness, it plays a part in all of those, I feel like. And they all play on each other.
Yeah.
So, you getting out of bed in the morning and, first alarm and making it happen.
Yep.
Like that plays into whether or not you're happy that day, whether you're emotionally happy.
Yep.
That they feed on each other so much that if there's a weak link in any of that, then you can only be as strong as that weakest link. So I think it's awesome that you're pushing on the whole physicality part, because if your health is gone, there's not much anything else in those other categories can do to really help
pull that up. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it's difficult for sure. I've seen it firsthand. One of the episodes we talked about was with my brother Brandon having those health challenges and stuff like that. And it is just so difficult to be able to rise above something like that. But your mentality plays into so many different things. And I think in my mind, and the reason that why I started this podcast was because the mental portion of it, I feel like, is what is lacking the most.
Yep.
In our society. There's just so many kids that just can't handle change, can't handle, what life throws at them.
Yeah.
And it's going to throw tons of things at them.
Absolutely.
The first hard thing that they run into, it's the first time that they've been backed into a corner and actually had to do something hard. And, it plays a lot into as parents, what our role is. We go in there and we save them every time. We, they didn't turn in their homework. And so we, hurry and email the teacher and go to the school and show up and say, look, here's their homework. I swear they did it. It's right here. And you did nothing for that kid.
Yeah, you're not doing them any favors by doing that.
No,
sure.
They need to be held responsible for that. Yep. Now, granted, you're going to be right there with them, 100% of the way, saying, hey, I would probably not do that next time. Like, you need to learn now, because once decisions get into the higher risk stakes, it's no longer just, oops, I forgot my homework. It's, hey, you're getting fired because you weren't delivering things that you're supposed to.
Yep.
Like, it just plays into farther down the road. And all of what I'm saying is that there's just because that happens to you, say you get fired or something like that. I'm not saying it's your parents or something like that that did something wrong. But I think you'll be more mentally tough if you hold your kids to harder standards and harder things.
Absolutely.
It'll prepare them in the future.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just before, I mean, we had a lot of great conversation about gaining the grit and gaining mental fortitude and stuff like that. And I hope that we can take that and run with that, right? And just maybe become a little bit better every single day, right? Like, tomorrow we're not going to wake up and we're not going to be perfect. And we never will be.
Right.
But it's the constant effort. It's that 1% that we put in every single day to gaining, to having a more mental, bigger mental fortitude, or whatever you want to say, right? Yeah. It takes effort, big time effort. And so I guess before we wrap up, I just want to kind of ask you what your goals are for we're going to say the next 5 years. I don't want to put you on the spot, but just like they can be vague, but what are your goals? What are your goals for the next 5 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously with Path To Gritness, the biggest goal that I have there is to create a tribe around me that feels that same way.
Love it.
that will build me up and I can build them up.
Yeah.
I think there's something to do with, having those people around you to help you keep going. So that's Path to Greatness, is to build up that tribe.
Love it.
As far as my family and my personal, like, I I really want to have the best relationship possible with my boys. So we've got, lots of trips planned, things to
Beautiful.
do, because I think you learn a lot in nature and in spending time with each other. I don't get to work every day with my boys, and it's driving me bonkers. But I think that, spending as much time as possible with them will help. So that's another big one. And then as far as my own mental toughness, I've been going to the gym every day trying to build my physical, but my mental toughness, I would say, I want to learn as much as possible in the next 5 years about how to strengthen my mind
Okay.
and to build up, you know, why people do certain things at
Yep.
certain times, why, what I can do to really focus and push myself to new levels that I've never hit before.
Okay.
So that's what's
Love
going
it.
on this next 5 years.
I love it. It sounds like you got some good plans.
Yeah,
Love
very
it.
excited.
Well, Jason, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
I know it was kind of a last minute thing, but we made it happen, and I'm very grateful for it. So, again, those that didn't catch it before, you can go check out his podcast. It's the Path to Gritness, on iTunes and on Spotify. And thank you for tuning in again. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. Comment on this video if you liked it. Give me some tips if you want to hear some things, if you need to hear some things. If you don't like some things, then give me some feedback. That'd be awesome. So again, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for checking this out, and we will catch you later.
See ya.